Hello, my name is Mike Brown, and I want to give you a quick walk through a lesson that I prepared for a massive open online course, Creative Strategy, Design and Execution, being taught through the University of Arkansas's eVersity 2.0, which is a high quality, accessible, open, free, 100% online educational resource. This course is designed for senior level university students in the advertising and public relations sequence in the School of Journalism and Strategic Media and focuses on the acquisition of skills in creative conceptualizing and execution processes practiced in the field. This is not an introductory course. It presumes knowledge of target markets, understanding of advertising theory, principles and objectives, and the uses of various media and software. In this week-long lesson, students will have their first introduction to some of the basic visual design principles needed for entry-level advertising and public relation professionals and put these foundational skills to use in effective design production using the Adobe Creative Cloud. This lesson will include the integration of an emerging technology called the Creative Design Inspector. This cloud-based software is an assessment tool that helps instructors verify learners' skill acquisition and concept understanding. Critiquing creative work is a very tedious, subjective exercise, which has made offering MOOCs that require students to create and submit original creative work difficult due to the sheer volume of items that would need to be individually reviewed by the instructor in a timely manner. This advanced diagnostic tool, the Creative Design Inspector, evaluates submitted visual designs against pre-selected criteria and uses artificial intelligence to create an objective critique process. While AI programs that evaluate writing and other skills have been around for quite some time, this first of its kind visual inspector recognizes advanced graphic design principles and systems, as well as verifies that the work is original by comparison to other student submissions, as well as historical designs. Creative Design Inspector also checks for the inclusion of copyrighted or plagiarized elements. An ethical consideration of assessing original creative work in such a massive online environment is the personal and cultural bias of the reviewer. The use of the Creative Design Inspector will remove the personal and cultural bias from the grading equation by rendering an unbiased, objective assessment of student work based on global design criteria. On to the lesson, the principles of CARP. After completing the lesson, students will demonstrate a knowledge and understanding of the principles of CARP by scoring satisfactorily on a quiz of creative design-related terminology and concepts. When shown an assortment of designs, students will also be able to properly design principles that meet project specifications. And they will use the Adobe Creative Cloud software to create an effective, original visual design that contains all the required elements and effectively uses the principles of CARP. The foundation of this lesson is the educational theory of constructivism. Learners are building new knowledge based on the foundation of previous learning through an active process of activities with real-world problem solving. Being 100% online, it is necessary to build a collaborative problem-solving environment and allow students to be active participants in their learning. I will guide the students and allow them to create new levels of performance that go beyond what is being taught and share that knowledge and understanding with me. The content for this lesson is aligned to the International Society for Technology and Education standards. I chose these standards in part because they require that students recognize the rights and responsibilities and opportunities of living, learning, and working in an interconnected digital world, and they act and model in ways that are safe, legal, and ethical. Tying with the constructivist foundations, students will become knowledge constructors and critically curate a variety of resources using digital tools to construct knowledge, produce creative artifacts, and make meaningful learning experiences for themselves and others. As innovative designers, students use a variety of technologies within a design process to identify and solve problems by creating new, useful, or imaginative solutions. And as creative communicators, they will communicate clearly and express themselves creatively for a variety of purposes, including platforms, tools, styles, formats, and digital media appropriate to their goals. Students are required by the course syllabus to have access to a Windows or Macintosh computer that meets basic system requirements sufficient to complete the assignment. A valuable resource for the student will be the Non-Designer's Design Book Open Textbook, which is provided for them in a PDF format. All of the learning will be housed on the Blackboard Content Management System, which will be written instructions on completing the lesson, the video lectures on the CARP principles, access to open resource image and graphic repositories for design projects, self-assessment surveys, resources for learning activities, resources to aid in the completion of the performance task, and the instructor will have access to the Creative Design Inspector tool. The learning activities will begin with a video lecture of the principles of CARP. The lecture will introduce students to the 4 basic design principles of contrast, alignment, repetition, and proximity through definition, explanation of terminology, and visual examples. To aid in accessibility, a PDF version of the presentation is available for download and printing, and all lecture videos will include closed captioning and transcripts. After the video and the assigned readings in the Non-Designer's Design Book, learners will complete a self-assessment online to redundantly emphasize key concepts and terminology. This self-assessment is in the form of a Google form quiz. Students will then move to the application practice module. The first learning activity allows students to apply the CARP design principles learned during the lesson. Using provided Adobe Illustrator templates and paragraphs of text, students will create designs by applying specified CARP principles. They will then compare their work to examples of correct usage for self-evaluation. Activity 2, students will access an online survey to view and evaluate good and bad examples of creative design and be asked to identify CARP principles present and evaluate their effectiveness. Automated feedback will reiterate best practices on the principles' use. The final learning activity is the performance task. Learners will access the Adobe Creative Open Cloud software via their computers and create an effective, original visual design that contains all required elements and effectively utilizes the principles of CARP. This individual creative assignment will be submitted via Blackboard, and I will use the Instructor tool, Creative Design Inspector tool, to submit the students' designs and perform an analysis of design based on the predefined criteria, which will include the creative use of the 4 principles of CARP, verifying original artwork by comparison to other student submissions, and checking for the inclusion of copyrighted or plagiarized elements. Finally, a multiple choice performance assessment quiz will be used that emphasizes higher order thinking skills based on real world problems. This quiz will be administered and graded via Blackboard, and immediate feedback will be provided to the learners. In the end, students will have a good understanding of the basic design principles and be able to recognize when they are not being used effectively and individually create original creative works that encompass these principles. Thank you.